other parent to go through this, because it's not easy.
Tonight, the number of murdered women and girls continues to climb.
Does the Premier agree that a team transporting ICU patients should have the necessary training and equipment to do so safely?
The COVID-related death of a First Nation woman reaches the Manitoba legislature.
The path to stronger security in the Arctic is through investments in critical infrastructure.
And with Russian forces just a hop, skip, and a jump away, Arctic premiers have some advice for Ottawa. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The body of an Indigenous woman missing from Saskatoon was discovered in Prince Albert earlier this week. Police from that city are calling it a homicide. Leanne Sanders joins us with more.
Prince Albert police say they recovered the body of Taya Sinclair at a snow dump area on Tuesday. They say the body had been burned. The 24-year-old woman was a mother of 2 children. On social media, family members said she hadn't been seen since last Saturday, March 12th. In an emotional news release today, her family described her as a granddaughter, a mother, a child, and a dearly loved family member and friend. She was a warm person with a spirit, a heart, and a voice that was valuable to many people. An advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is asking why Saskatoon police didn't make it public that Sinclair was missing.
Darlene Okamason Seacott with Women Walking Together says cases like this look bad for police.
What is the good of advisory boards? What's the good of women's advisory boards in policing? If that's not working, are they even aware there's cases that are happening like this? It's always the front lines that are, have no money to do this work. But we're here for the families. We're here to, help them navigate a system that's half the time, maybe more than half the time, not fair to Indigenous people.
But Saskatoon police say it was too soon in the investigation to release that information to the public. The family is now raising money for funeral costs and says it will hold a news conference soon. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thanks, Leanne. An Alberta family is also in mourning after the death of a 21-year-old woman. Vigils were held this weekend and this week in Lac La Biche for Tatiana Janvier. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
Tavia Janvier says her daughter was loved by her family and the community of Lac La Biche, Alberta.
She was outgoing. No matter who it was, she would rather help out other people instead of herself, and she would come last. She's a up-spirited girl. Like she's one of a kind.
Tatiana Janvier lived at the family home. On the morning of March 9th, her mother says her daughter then went to town. No follow-up texts caused Tavia to worry. She reported her daughter missing to the RCMP.
She usually texts me during the day, letting me know where she is. I haven't had received a text from her that whole day.
On March 10th, Lac La Biche RCMP, responding to a report of a body found, went to a local residence and discovered Tatiana's body. Major Crimes was called in. RCMP say an autopsy was done and are awaiting results, and Tatiana's death is under investigation. There have been 2 vigils held for Tatiana to remember her. Tavia Janvier is looking for answers as to why her daughter died.
I don't want any other parent to go through this, because it's not easy. It's not easy thing to go through.
She says her daughter's life was cut short.
I keep thinking every day she's going to walk through the door, but it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to bring my baby back.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Lac La Biche, Alberta.
To Manitoba now, where an Indigenous woman is proposing a class action lawsuit against the provincial government. It's for the controversial practice of birth alerts. The woman's newborn was taken away from her by police and social workers in 2019. A video of that seizure was live streamed on social media. The baby was the subject of a birth alert. Child welfare agencies take infants shortly after birth in hospitals. The woman says in the statement of claim that birth alerts are unlawful and cause significant harm. Manitoba stopped using birth alerts in 2020. The province says they cannot comment on the matter as it is before the courts. A similar lawsuit was filed in BC last fall. Well, during the height of Manitoba's punishing third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the province began transferring patients out of the province for medical attention. Crystal Musso of Ebb and Flow First Nation was one of those patients. Musso, a 31-year-old mother of two, died during that attempted airlift. The NDP in Manitoba have been calling for an inquest into Musso's death. Here's an exchange that took place on Wednesday between NDP leader Wab Kinew and Premier Heather Stefanson.
Madam Speaker, Crystal Musso's life mattered. She is dearly missed by her friends, family, and her children. We now know, of course, that the government will not call an inquest into her death, but new information is coming to light from the critical incident investigation into her death, and this information is very concerning. The company contracted to transport Crystal out of province used staff that did not have the proper training and used vehicles that did not have the right equipment to care for ICU patients. I'll table a document that lays this out. Does the Premier agree that a team transporting ICU patients should have the necessary training and equipment to do so safely?
The Honourable First Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And before I get to the member's question, I just wanted to say that sometimes it's we need to remember that we need to take time to celebrate our kids. And last night, it was a proud mom moment for me. It was a proud parent moment for both my husband and I when we were at a hockey rink in Selkirk, and Tommy and his high school hockey team were playing the St. Paul's Crusaders, and they defeated the Westwood Warriors to become the Manitoba Provincial High School Hockey Champions. Madam Speaker, I just want to congratulate Tommy, all his team members, and the coach Andrew Harder for their victory last night. Madam Speaker, it's an exciting day for our family, and just thank you for the opportunity to say a few words about that, Madam Speaker. What I will say, Madam Speaker, with respect to this, of course, I did, the member opposite asked these questions yesterday.
The member's time has expired.
Well, as you can imagine, the Premier's reply yielded quite the reaction on social media. For more on that exchange and the calls for an inquest into Crystal Musso's death, we're joined in studio here now by Manitoba NDP leader Wab Kinew. Wab, thanks for being with us. We just played what went down on Wednesday when you raised numerous concerns over Musso's death in the Manitoba legislature and questioned Premier Heather Stefanson about it. What do you use her response about congratulating her son's hockey team? What does that say to you?
Well, I think I would just go back to how I responded at the time. Immediately after the clip that you shared, what I shared there is what I would say now. And that is that for Crystal Musso's children, they won't have their mom present for their big life moments, for their milestones. And that's why we need to keep pushing for answers into what happened. And so we've continued to ask about the issues that have come to light so far, which show that they didn't have the proper equipment in the vehicle, that they didn't have the right training in place to care for somebody coming out of an intensive care unit, as Crystal Musso was. And then that begs this whole other set of questions about how is it that the government was hiring companies without those things in place, and what sort of standards were there? At the end of the day, I think Manitobans, I think people of all walks of life should be very, very interested in finding the answers so that we can get some justice for Crystal Musso.
You're touching on some of the things there, but a critical incident report into Musso's death was completed. Aside from what you've been saying, what does stand out for you from that report?
Well, you know, what really jumps out at me is that mistakes were made in the care of Crystal Musso. And we have to remember what was happening at the time. May 2021 in Manitoba, our province was dealing with a third wave that was just really, really terrible. And Manitoba, unfortunately, became the first province to send ICU patients to other jurisdictions because we didn't have the ability to care for them here at home. So then when we get to Crystal Musso's case, within that environment, within that situation, now we learn of an ICU patient who's being moved, mistakes were made in her care, and ultimately this woman passed away. It's very tragic, and I think we should all want to learn the truth of what happened so that we can hopefully avoid similar tragedies in the future, but also very importantly to get accountability and to understand the truth of what happened to Crystal Musso.
You and others have been calling for an inquest. What could an inquest tell us?
Well, an inquest can really look at the systemic failures. And so when we look here, there is clearly a system failure. When we have a government that is forced to transport ICU patients, and then that government is hiring companies that are maybe not using the right staffing, training, not using the right equipment, that seems like a failure. And in this case, we deserve to understand the truth of what happens and try to arrive at some semblance of justice for Crystal.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate you taking some time for us here.
Okay, miigwech.
We reached out to Premier Stephenson for an interview about the inquest. That request was declined. However, she did release a statement late this afternoon. It says, quote, "First and foremost, my thoughts go out to Crystal Musso's family as they grieve the loss of their loved one. I recognize the timing of my comment about my family was misplaced, and for that, I sincerely apologize." Time now for a quick break, but first to the Atlantic region and a look at what APTN's reporter Angel Moore is working on.
I'm here in Natawahaneg First Nation, where 2 community members have joined the war effort to defend the Ukraine. Hunter Francis has already returned from the war-torn country, sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. Samuel Sutherland, a father of 3 and a 60-scoop survivor, is training and will leave for the Ukraine in a few weeks. I will have that story for you soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back. Russian aggression in Ukraine has many Canadians looking north. After all, Canada and Russia are only separated by the Arctic Ocean. Today was the last day for Operation Noble Defender, a military exercise in the north focused on fighter jets from Canada and the United States. Northern premiers are taking a different approach. In a joint letter, the three premiers wrote the Prime Minister to say what they think is needed to protect the North. They say if you want a strong North, support the people and communities who live there.
In the letter, it stated that the path to stronger security in the Arctic is through investments in critical infrastructure that support healthy, vibrant growth in our communities. Greater investments in airports, roads, digital security, and energy are now more important than ever. Canada also needs to invest in strong, resilient Arctic communities by investing in housing and social infrastructure that helps to grow our regions.
First Nations communities across Quebec are marking the beginning of maple season, each with their own specific traditions. Except one family in Manawan, Quebec will be missing out this year because they say their family's cherished maple grove was destroyed in a logging operation gone wrong. Lindsay Richardson explains.
C'est comme si j'attends comme des voix quand je suis dans la forêt. Quand un arbre est coupé, ça touche à ton corps aussi. Des fois, j'ai de la peine. Puis je dis pourquoi j'ai cette peine-là. Puis quand je vais dans la forêt, je vais voir qu'est-ce qui a été coupé.
Roger Echaquan is a medicine man in his home community of Manawan. Their sprawling ancestral territory, known as the Nitassinan, is still blanketed in snow. But underneath it, Echaquan explains, the ground is resource-rich.
Dans une montagne, t'as tout ce qu'il faut dedans. T'as même ton thé, puis tu le ressens.
But a source of particular pride are Manawan's maple groves. This is, after all, the self-proclaimed birthplace of maple syrup.
Il n'y a pas une famille à Manawan qui ne sait pas faire du sucre ou du sirop d'érable à Tikamek. Puis je sais que les gens, quand on leur fait goûter, ils disent hey, ça goûte pas pareil, c'est meilleur. Et qu'on est bien content. On a une façon de le faire, nous, puis qui est vraiment c'est spécial.
Annette Dubé is the appointed spokesperson for the Dubé family. In 2017, they signed an agreement with Quebec's forestry ministry, hoping to protect their family grove from logging. And it went untouched until recently, when a local logging company allegedly went beyond the boundaries of a planned operation, clear-cutting nearly all of the Dubé family grove.
Il faut vraiment que les Autochtones aient leur place dans toutes les consultations puis qu'ils soient partie prenante dans les décisions.
The community says it will take a century before the grove grows back, and it's time they can't spare, considering their inextricable ties to the land.
Ça veut dire c'est assez. C'est sûr que des compagnies qui viennent ici puis viennent raser, ça leur dérange pas, les autres, c'est pas leur milieu de vie, mais nous, ça nous affecte. Puis ça affecte nos enfants aussi, puis ça va affecter les générations.
Thérèse Nicoué isn't the only official concerned by what happened here. Glenn Dubé is a Manawan councillor, and the Dubé Grove belongs to his family.
Les gens sont motivés et ils sont là pour une raison. Hein. C'est un manquement grave pour nous, parce que les érablières sont rares pour la Mauricie, et la famille utilise cette érablière depuis des années pour leurs activités traditionnelles.
Manawan's situation is similar to one underway 200 kilometers to the east in the Atikamek community of Wimotishi.
Non seulement les consultations sont non constitutionnelles, elles sont en manque de respect envers tous nos membres.
In mid-February, they served the Forestry Ministry with a formal legal notice calling for a pause on logging work, while calling out the government's lack of consultation on projects.
For example, if a chief of territory asks for a particular part of their land to be protected, they can't, because if the usage of this portion of land has already been decided to be for forestry, then this can't be changed when they are consulted. So it's already too late to change that.
As for the Forestry Ministry, APTN reached out for comment and to ask about their consultation process, but we did not get an answer back before deadline. This camp was erected near the logging site nearly a month ago. Things are currently peaceful, but they say they'll be here until a meeting with the ministry.
Parce que nation, t'es censé avoir ton propre cadre, tes façons de faire, puis ensemble on compose. Mais pour l'instant, là, nation, on est très loin de ça encore. On ne dit pas d'arrêter de couper. On dit juste prenez soin, prenez ce que vous avez besoin.
While the province pushes for industry, Manawan residents say they'll push for their traditions.
Quand tu prends l'eau d'érable, c'est comme si tu prenais le lait de ta mère. C'est pour ça quand on regarde ou quand on est dans la forêt, on est comme jamais tout seul. C'est parce que tous nos enfants se sont changés en arbre, en oiseau, des choses comme ça.
Logging works in the Maple Grove have been temporarily suspended while parties come back to the negotiation table. There's also an investigation in progress to find out who authorized the cuts to begin with. Meanwhile, community members posted up at the Solidarity Camp say they're prepared to remain in place until the provincial government accepts that they want to be equal partners in all forestry negotiations moving forward. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Manawan, Quebec.
Thanks, Lindsay. Time to step aside for another quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. This one from the shores of Quadra Island in British Columbia. Our viewer Janice Gladish sent in this great photo. We have to agree, Janice, that the light was perfect to capture the stunning colors of these logs along the shore. Thanks for sharing. You can send your photos by email to share@aptn.ca. If you have a photo that you'd like to see shared across the country as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at Friday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 13 and cloudy in Halifax, 10 with showers in Charlottetown. Minus 11 in Nain, 4 below and snow for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Plus 11 in Montreal, 5 above in Chibougamau. Plus 4 in Sault Ste. Marie, rain and 5 above for North Bay. Plus 5 for Wawa, 4 in Thunder Bay. Plus 5 in God's Lake, 3 above and snow for Norway House. Plus 4 in Winnipeg, 5 in Dauphin. Plus 6 for Regina, showers and plus 3 in Saskatoon. Rain and plus 6 for Meadow Lake, 7 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, plus 5 in sunny and high level, 7 in Fort McMurray. 11 in Lethbridge, 6 and sunny in Edmonton. Showers and 10 for Vancouver and Victoria. Plus 7 in Prince George, 5 in Fort Nelson. Minus 14 in Old Crow, plus 3 in Mayo. Minus 7 with snow in Yellowknife, snow and 11 below for Norman Wells. Minus 20 in Sax Harbor and Inuvik. 19 below for Chesterfield and Whale Cove. Minus 22 with snow in Resolute, 26 below and snow in Arctic Bay. It's nearly time for Nation to Nation. Here's host, producer Brett Forrester in Ottawa to tell us more about this week's episode.
Thanks, Winnipeg. Well, there will be one more round in Canada's fight with Quebec over C-92. The Indigenous Child Welfare Bill became law 2 years ago, but it was immediately challenged by the province. Now both governments are taking the battle to the Supreme Court. I'll dig deeper into the case with Minister Patty Hajdu and lawyer Naomi Metallic. Later, I'll have highlights from the APTN National Chief's testimony before a parliamentary committee. She told MPs she's concerned the tools used to clamp down on the Freedom Convoy may one day be turned on First Nations. Stick around for that after the news.
Looks great, Brett. So does that tie. You can catch Nation to Nation right here in just a few minutes' time. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. Brett's next with Nation to Nation. We'll see you back here tomorrow.